break free without breaking up. Those of us who really value that evolutionary virtue of freedom. And, sometimes I think we have to give up our freedoms in order to be in relationship, but that doesn't really work because freedom is such an important value to us. I mean, it's one of the values throughout history that people actually go to war and kill each other for it. So it's like so vital to humans to be free.
You might even think of this country kind of founded on this pursuit of opportunity and freedom as its very sort of zeitgeist, as the culture that this, at least the United States, is based on, and meant much of the Western world. Yeah.
Right. And freedom, it's not just freedom to do what you want to do, but I think freedom is that feeling where whoever I am, however I express myself, if I have an impulse that I feel is like really core to me and I go and express myself, freedom is when I feel like rewarded for that or praised for that or liked for that or loved for that. And it doesn't feel free if I feel like ridiculed or that being myself causes some kind of a problem or a conflict.
The topic today, how to break free without breaking up, reminds me of, a couple that we were coaching and knew several years ago where this was really front and center in their relationship. And, see if you guys have a tendency on to really be flying this flag of freedom in your relationship, where your own personal sovereignty is really important to you in relationships. See if you relate to this story. So in this case, it happened to be a woman in the relationship that was having these feelings. And, she had been in the relationship, and also sometimes a common story. She was sort of feeling smaller in the relationship. She wasn't feeling as self-expressed as she wanted to feel. She wasn't feeling like her own desires and needs were being prioritized at the same level that maybe her partners were. And so many years of that had gone by. And after a while, there's a buildup that started to occur where she started to feel sort of angry or resentful, which is completely understandable, as she was feeling sort of like the relationship that she was in had boxed her into a small enough box that she no longer really felt like she fit inside it. There were parts of her that had been evolving and growing, and all of a sudden, those weren't being given airtime. Those weren't being related to and loved. In fact, they were seen as a threat to the relationship. As she was growing kind of outside the confines of the existing sort of context that they were in their relationship, it started to feel really crowded and caged for her. And so what happened is there was an escalation of her anger and upset. And underneath that was a deep desire for her to really individuate, instead of being just known as the couple where she was sort of the wife of someone and even a secondary figure. She was becoming an incredibly sovereign and more empowered woman in her own right. And that journey, because it was such a different way for them to relate, because they were both sort of complicit in this story of her being the wife and being sort of a little bit less expressed, and having his needs be a little bit more front and center for both of them.
Well, and in this case, the whole role of mother was a big part of it too.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. She had several kids.
They had a couple kids,
yes.
And then she really, when the kids are young, they tend to take up a lot of your attention.
Yes.
And then as the kids started to get a little bit older and started to explore their own autonomy, now she's like, wait a minute, who am I other than just a mother? And she's wanting to kind of reinvent that part, that part of herself as a woman that isn't the mother. And that was part of that.
Absolutely.
Space.
And that reinvention, something we're going to actually talk about even more, uh, if that reinvention isn't given space within the relationship, then the relationship is going to feel more like a cage than a palace, right? Than a temple. And so that was sort of some of her experience. And as she started to value her sovereignty, as she started to value her autonomy and her agency in the relationship, her partner got more and more threatened by that. Because all of a sudden he was having to contend with a brand new being with new desires that might have, in his mind, been contrary to the desires that he had for them. So this created a cycle that is often found in relationships where one partner is wanting to be more free-spirited, more sovereign, more empowered, wanting to follow their desires, what they want, and wanting their partner to be on board with that, while the other gets a little anxious and wants them to stay the same and want, like, hey, stay more connected, and can't we keep things as they were? And in the threat of that, can feel the anxiety of their partner pulling away and being less and less committed to them and to the relationship. And so it really can rock the boat. And so for those of you in this story, maybe you can relate to either side of this, either the side of your partner really wanting their freedom and their sovereignty, and and maybe you're on that track where you see how valuable it is to really express that freedom and express that sovereignty. Or maybe you were on the side of feeling like, in the way that your partner was expressing that, you were feeling like what you really wanted was the devotion and commitment, such that, yes, we can express our desires, but do we have to do it in a way that has us disconnect and get farther apart from each other?